Welcome back, everybody. It's an honour to have your presence here with us in season 3 of my online show. So what is love in practical terms? And what's multidimensional love in practical terms? And what's the purpose in spiritual evolution terms when it comes to our relationships? So it's one of my greatest wishes when I came up with the vision for season 3 of my summit to talk to you about love and to talk to you really about embodying your sacred union, your love partnerships into the 3rd dimension. So I had a lot of feedback after the last summit that I did, which is all about ascension, and people writing in and saying, wow, you know, this information is really great. And yes, we're definitely getting wise, but you know, what about our relationships? I seem to be ascending. He seems to be descending. Where are all the conscious guys, you know? It can really churn things up for us when we're going through the awakening process, and it can cause quite a few disruptions in our relationships. So we're going to be talking about these topics and more in today's interview. And it's my absolute pleasure and honor to be joined by beloveds Christof and Alaya Melchizedek, who, and I'm a huge fan of their work. I mean, I really have been following these guys for the last few years, and I'm just so grateful to their work, their service mission in the world. I know that today's interview is going to give us a lot of wisdom, a lot of support, and a lot of practical suggestions on how you can truly transmute your relationship or turn up the frequency, turn up the dial in your relationship so that you can have a truly sacred union. So a very warm welcome to the show to both of you, beloveds Christof and Alaya.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ariella. It's a great pleasure being back here with you once again, and we're feeling like, you know, a little bit excited, but I think a little bit nervous as well because, you know, we haven't discussed in a live setting before so much what's under the hood of our relationship. People kind of have this kind of, you know, I guess, little impression from what they see in our dispatches. And so this is something that we've always talked about doing, and to really come out and do more open and honest sharings about our relationship and about what we've learned about being conscious in a relationship. So it's with excitement and a little bit of nervous tension that we find ourselves with today.
I love that. I was very excited when we were talking, just to the viewers, when we were talking before we pressed record today. But Christof made it very clear. He said, you know, we're open books. We've been through it all. We've got nothing to hide. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a very interesting interview. So thank you for that. And thank you also, because I know you guys, you walk your talk, because I think, what time is it there? It's coming up to 11 p.m., right, in New Zealand?
Yes, correct.
And I reached out to Christof and I said, look, if you want to do the interview early, we can do. And Christof was like, no, we need to put the kids to bed and get everything straight. So this is a very practical, sacred container that we've got set up today.
Yes.
I'm going to share a little bit about our dynamic, our children, etc., so people can get a feel. Yeah.
And what do you mean with that?
Or how many children we got, their ages.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's start there. Yeah.
So we have 2 beautiful babies. Noah is our son. He's 3.5 years old, and we have a gorgeous daughter, and her name is Aurora, and she's almost 2. Oh, yeah, they came very, very close. We met each other, and 4 months later, we were pregnant of Noah.
Wow.
So definitely something that propelled us right away into working very deep together.
You two were destined to be on a journey.
Yes, we knew that when we met, actually.
Yeah, some of you who are in, you know, sacred relationships, there's this powerful magnetic draw towards you sometimes, and you know, very often these are held in the levels of contract, past life experiences, that familiarity. But of course, you know, like any coming together of couples, you've got these 2 different lives that are trying to merge, you know, and of course you've got these two different like childhood conditionings, you know, playing out. And what we feel strongly is that, you know, sacred relationship isn't all unicorns and rainbows. You know, it's really about these strong mirrors that, you know, bring up these woundings and these aspects from childhood. And I think what love means, well, to me, and I'm sure it means to you, is being there not only in the good times, but really being there in the times where you're going through it. You're going through the process of transforming something deep and powerful so that you can work together, spiraling upwards, so that you don't end up stuck in the relationship playing out the patterns your parents programmed you to be. You use each other as a mirror to be able to identify that's not me, that's a program. But of course, right in the middle when that one's kicking off, that takes a little bit of, you know, self-mastery to identify, I'm in a reaction right now, this actually isn't me, it's my father or my mother or my grandfather.
Yeah.
So I guess
past relationships, or
yeah,
and to own it, to really, when you're in it, that's of course the most challenging bit, to realize it and own it.
Yes.
And to be able to hold space for each other as well.
So I guess for us, there was this very strong attracting field coming together. And then we very quickly, you know, within a couple of weeks, you know, I just literally got a house in Ibiza, just moved there, and Alaya's house situation dissolved. So she needed somewhere to live. I thought, okay, well, we're either going to do it now or in 6 months. Let's jump in now. So literally, you know, in the first week, we're like living together.
Wow.
You know, and then...
It was actually after 2 weeks, and we only shared a kiss. And then we moved
Wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's really intense. Goodness me. Congratulations for being able to traverse that. That's intense.
And then the funny bit is 4 months later pregnant, and then we, oh my goodness, so now we're really like, now we're
Which
really
we knew already. We knew there was a son coming. Both of us, we saw Noah was literally bringing us together, orchestrating it all.
And so when we had a child so early on, there's literally, it was quite amusing for us because we came together, and then literally, I think, was it 3 months later, Akasha came and lived with us.
2 months later.
2 months later, Akasha came.
Right.
So,
wow.
So, you know, now Sananda, but you know, at that time, oh yeah, would you like to live with me and then, you know, my best friend?
Well,
relationship.
That was the bummer.
Yeah, and I think Akasha.
And then you were pregnant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Like, wow.
So and then he came back. Noah came, and then Akasha came back and lived with us again when Noah was just born, which I think, you know, very properly put him off children in the immediate future because Noah was a high needs baby, so we had to deal with a lot of late nights and early mornings. And you know, one thing I would like to share for any new parents that may be watching is that the first year is super intense. You just have to be committed to each other and the child to just ride it through and know that it will pass. You know, whatever you're going through, it's going to come out the other side. And, you know, that first year of a new baby, especially the first baby, you know, you don't know what you're really doing. You've got to try to work it out as you go.
And then literally all the programs come up, like how my mother was, Christof dad was, like, it's literally all coming up. Like, of all these programs, so we really had to work through those.
And I seem to remember, I think I read it was a blog post of yours, Christof, the experience of when Alaya was actually giving birth. You wrote about that, and it was a really beautiful blog post. And I know that Akasha was there, and he was sort of looking into the field, right, and helping you to understand what was going on at a soul level. How was that experience, like giving birth, in terms of like a spiritual experience, but also like a multidimensional, including the physical experience?
Well, I'll let Alaya share because she's really the
Alaya probably is qualified to talk more on this.
Both of us were very different. So with Noah, it was more animalistic. It was more mind over matter, and I knew no matter what, I wanted to birth Noah outside of the hospital, so at home without any medication. And I was gonna do it. So I was literally in the warrior mode, and I wasn't so focused on everything else that was happening around me. I was literally like, I'm gonna get this baby out.
This is getting done.
Exactly, which was afterwards, it was quite intense for my physical body because I literally pushed Noah out with all my willpower, and it was also quite intense for him. It took a bit longer to integrate him, therefore.
Right.
And with sorry, what are you going to say?
Well, I was just going to share that, you know, we brought them both in through the Lotus template, which is when the fetus is connected to the baby until the baby's ready to let go. And in Noah's case, it was 5 days when his foot started to want to get rid of the umbilical cord. Aurora was a bit sooner, 3 days. But what we notice is that it seems to make them a lot more integrated in their physical body. They're way more embodied. Because, you know, if you really tune into that, the fetus is their energetical twin and their whole source of nutrition, the placenta, and, you know, the entire kind of resource for it as a baby. So that when it comes out, if you suddenly separate it, it's quite a big trauma for the incoming soul, because that's the only sort of being that it knows inside the womb. So not only is it coming into density for the first time, suddenly a cut away from that creates quite a trauma. And this is very often what we see playing out in the first wounding of separation, the first wounding of abandonment comes from that cutting. So we brought them both through the Lotus template. And if you're interested to research this, The Forgotten Chakra by Robin Lim, is it? Robin Lim is a wonderful book to explore this type of birth. And then do you want to share about Aurora's birth? The contrast? Yeah.
Yes. Well, with both of them, they were very communicative while I was pregnant, and I was able to listen to it very clearly. And with Aurora, we found out 2 weeks after we conceived her that she was in my womb space, and she was very clear. No tests were allowed, or she really wanted to have. She needed her own space and build her own energy field. So for me, it was interesting to fully trust, and I could literally see this whole cloud of collective consciousness of all these mothers, and so much impregnated with fear, and not trusting ourselves, because all of these eons of time that we've been told that we don't know how to birth, that our bodies are not, and that it's painful, all these programs, all these conditionings. So I literally had to pierce through that and trust that she was growing well. And the first few months you don't feel the baby, of course. So it was a beautiful process. And I just kept reminding myself, well, the native people and the tribes, they don't have any they say ultrasounds, and then at the she guided me like the whole pregnancy. And also the deepest wish came in both of Christof and myself, that we wished to birth her by ourselves, which is called the free birth. And I think that's what she actually requested. And you never know if it's going to happen, but yeah, we were both quite confident in that. And so that happened. And this time I followed some hypnobirth methods. So it kept really in this meditative space, and Christof put up the field, and it was just this meditative space. Dear friend made a beautiful birthing list, and and Akash was there, and we were just meditating, and all of a sudden my whole body started pushing. There was a completely different experience.
Wow, completely different. Yeah.
I hardly experienced any pain. The only thing is I could really feel that she wasn't positioned right, that my body was pushing, but that she wasn't moving further down. So that was when I slightly panicked, and I was like, oh wow, I know how to birth a baby, but I don't know how to do this. And we were very blessed that at that moment Akasha was in bed with Noah to space for him in this birthing process, of course, because he will energetically feel everything that we're going through. So Christof, because we were both in the birthing pool together, and Christof got him and said, okay, can you please have a check and you know what's going on. And then he confirmed that her head was a bit stuck on the left side. So then this is so beautiful. So both Christof and Akasha were, how I've seen it is that they showed her the pathway energetically.
Right.
And then Noah started crying because he felt my distress. So Akasha went back to the bedroom, and then the next push came, and it was plop, and it was literally like her head plopped in position. She found a way, and then the next one, I could feel her head, and then she came on, and she had bright blue eyes, and Christopher and me were just under the water. We were just like, oh, she just kept looking at us, like, so.
Oh, that's
beautiful.
such.
This is amazing. Yeah.
So that was really the whole pregnancy was, for me, was very beautiful to have that trust, to feel a clear connection with her and her spirit and her guiding.
Oh, that's such a beautiful multi-dimensional birth.
And having the full trust of Christof. He fully trusted my intuition. That's always been really, very good.
So that's a great point. Let's lead in from there. Yeah, because the roles of the male and the female in relationships, and thank you for your honesty and, you know, for the candidacy of how you're speaking about your relationships. Can you talk to us a bit more? I mean, you're obviously a highly evolved, highly conscious couple, but I loved that you admitted, yes, there's still that stuff that comes up. Could you talk to us a little bit more about that, and also the masculine and the feminine roles within the relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, let's go back to when we first came together, especially when Noah came, because it was, you know, now it's pretty smooth, but back then it was bumpy, you know. And so anyone who's experiencing that bumpiness, you know, it does pass if you do the work. You know, there's no shortcuts, and doing the work means both of you have to do the work. And if one's doing the work and actively working on it and one's not, what happens is that there becomes a gap between one who's doing it and one who's not. So you both have to be committed for it. And, you know, and I think, you know, in general, women are a little bit more up for the work than men. It's because they're more in their heart space. They feel things more intuition. They feel more emotion. And part of the woman's role is to just gently guide, you know, your man and the masculine energy into this work of growth and to experience it all out there. And for us, you know, we are literally, you know, we don't label it twin ray or any of this. We're not that, but we know that we are literally the same being, but embodied feminine and masculine, because, you know, so many little things like, you know, we go eat 80% of the time we eat out. We look at the 95%. We look at the menu. Oh yes, okay. We take our decisions. What are you going to eat? And it's always the same.
The same.
And then we really know, back then we really knew how to push each other's buttons, because literally all the shadows that I would have that I couldn't see, you know, she would mirror back to me, and then the same vice versa. All the programming that she received, you know, from her conditioning growing up, I was able to reflect back on all the conditioning I received. And of course, you don't really like looking at that.
Oh,
you know,
my God, it's the worst, especially when you're in it. And
you're in it at the time. You go, no, it's your fault. That's your fault. You know. So the most important thing is to recognize you're in it and pull yourself back out of it, so that you can come back in kind of a state where you're in neutrality, and then to recognize that the reaction that you had isn't actually you or isn't actually the other person. It's all your own reactions to something. They are just the symbol of an old outdated program that they are triggering in your system. So literally it's an old wound that has been set up in your energy field, that when the like vibration that your partner holds, similar to the childhood wounding, him or her represent the energy of that consciousness of that wound. And what's happening is that they're triggering it by holding that same frequency, and then all the defenses around the outside of that wound kick off. And they are just simply the triggering agent of what's happened in the past. But what we do is that when we don't have the consciousness, we think it's the other person's fault, and we end up pointing the finger to them. But of course, when we do that, as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 pointing right back at me, 3 times me than them. So what a conscious relationship is about is pulling yourself out of the emotional reaction, and then holding sacred space for each other, doing a sharing to try to track where this comes from, what the reaction's about, and how it's, what it's really about, and then do the clearings on that at that level, so that therefore, if that trigger comes again, you don't respond in the same way because the program's cleared.
Yes.
Do you have anything you want to share on?
Yes, because you were definitely more evolved in the beginning than I was. So
I'll get you to the middle. That's very nice.
And I was like a lioness defending my woundings, and I was so used to blame the masculine for the pain I was feeling or the disappointments I was feeling. And Christof was really, you were tremendous in the beginning of the relationship, like being a rock, holding the space for me. And I was emotionally so up and down, but I couldn't move him.
Which really pissed you off even more, because usually she would be quite good at manipulating her old boyfriends from the reactional space. But I had done a little bit of work on myself.
I imagine that being with Christof might be, I could imagine that that's going to be a bit of a test, actually, in terms of manipulating Christof. I could see that.
She gave it her best attempt, shall we say, and then what was really great about Alaya is that she would always own it and come back and do the work. And this is why we've, and I've grown just as much as her, in this relationship. It hasn't absolutely been a one-way thing. She's completely shaped me as a being today. We hardly recognize ourselves from the being we were
completely different
4 years ago. So we're coming into this greater and greater harmony, this beautiful stage of our life. We've done the work by holding the space for each other, triggering each other, but then still holding unconditional love. And for us, what is the definition of love? Well, it's a softness and a fierceness at the same time. Fierceness of protection, softness and surrender. It's being there no matter what. There's no
true commitment.
Yeah, there's no plan B. There's no exit strategy. And many times people are looking for an exit strategy, or you're trying to scramble out. Oh, I can start again as easy by myself. We just made that very deep fundamental commitment that no matter what, we would come through the other side and we would find a way back to each other every time, and we always do. And now there's less of a distance between us. We're becoming more unified. It's much more harmonious,
which is really amazing with two small children in such a small space. We never really had the honeymoon phase because everything went so fast for us and we worked so hard. So we're really looking forward to that. The next 2 years.
We do attachment parenting, so our children sleep with us. So it's a very full family life. And the thing with this style of parenting is that it's much more intensive at the beginning. The first few years, they're really part of your field. They don't sleep apart from us. So in that kind of family bed container, they are literally in your field. And the benefit, the benefit of that in the long term is that they develop a very strong sense of connection and safety. So therefore, they're more confident to go and explore the world because they're very rooted, versus sleeping in their own rooms, feeling separated, worried, anxiety, disconnected. They feel more confident we get so many comments from strangers, you can't believe how connected and confident they are to explore themselves, because they go off, have their own adventures, but they always know they can come back because we're absolutely there for them. That means we pick them up when they're crying. We're really focused on their needs in the moment. So for many parents, it's a big ask, and it takes a lot of parenting commitment. And so on a relationship, the focus isn't solely on us. It's our children are kind of the centerpiece, but we know that this period of focus and time is short window, and when you know that you've got a lifetime together, your own personal needs or fulfillments of intimacy or all these types of things, they soften and they dissolve a little bit, because you're operating not from desire, but you're operating more from true love. And space is really you transcend the second chakra and end up coming up from a more place of heartfelt connecting and softness. So it's very beautiful.
Well, something's obviously working, because I follow your guys' adventure, and you're working together now, right, across the globe, and you're doing these incredible circles and ceremonies. So, you know, you're a very closely, there's no sort of, there doesn't seem to be much room to escape one another.
Yes.
Which is what actually a lot of couples end up doing, right?
Yeah.
It's also because we're literally one field. Like, we've always been aligned in our values, and I think that's the most important thing. Like, when we met each other, it wasn't love at first sight. Like, oh, it was more literally, I instantly loved Christof. I didn't recognize him with my eyes. I was like, what? Bold and, you know, so muscular, and all these things that I never thought to find my beloved in the suit. But his heart, I just knew his heart, and I just loved it instantly. And that was why I couldn't. Yeah, I just knew that he's my beloved.
Oh, that's beautiful. I relate to that when I met Ethan. Yeah, I relate to that. I just had this feeling of, I just need him to be in my world. I don't know how or what. I didn't know if it was a love connect, but it was something very deep. Yeah, that instant.
What I feel is interesting for couples in, you know, the relationship you're in at home or wherever you're at, is that as you start to come more unified in your life path together, so that you're not living these separate lives, even if you're in separate roles of jobs or whatever it is, there's still a way you can come back together and have a unified plan and intent for life. And there's something magical when masculine and feminine come together for the alchemy of making magic and life together, is that you need both the masculine idea, intent, action. You need the feminine, you know, form holding, space allowing. Those things need to come together. You need both masculine and feminine to manifest. And, you know, the invitation is to come together in your own planning of your year, to start to really kind of map it out and start to get clarity on how this intention looks. Because when you both start working together in the intentional field together, it's the magic of masculine and feminine working together side by side, even if you're doing different roles and jobs, to manifest what it is that you desire. Now, the key pieces here, I guess, both in relating and in the way that you manifest and create, is these complementary opposites. The counterintuitive to, you know, both the masculine and counterintuitive to the feminine are these two principles of trust for the feminine. The feminine needs to trust the masculine. And you know, that's inherently kind of not wired that way. And
the biggest wounding.
And the masculine needs to surrender to the feminine. And, you know, that's like, you know, antithesis was meant to surrender to women. So, you know, this trust and surrender is this beautiful dance between the masculine and the feminine, for the woman to open up to greater levels of trust and the masculine to open up to greater levels of surrender. And it's in the surrender and the letting go that the magic really begins to happen, because in society, mostly the masculine patriarchy that's been, you know, responsible for the template for life on our planet for these last eons of time, has been all about, you know, direction, thought process, control, action. I will hold, you know, a form holding template, do it in this way, structure, you know. And now we're being asked to move into the formless, into surrender to how it all comes. And then this is when we work together with trust and surrender, that really the big breakthroughs, I feel, happen in sacred relating and relationship and your life, you know. Your life is a piece of art. That's it. It's like it's a living piece of art that you have to invest into to make it magical.
And it's very beautiful from you, I find, because you were so used to drive everything and choose your directions and then go for it. But when I came along, you've always listened very well to my feelings or my insights that have come up, or if I feel something very clear, like when we needed to leave Ibiza, it was such a clear message in my whole body. I could feel it, and I said to Christof, we need to leave. This chapter is finished. And you were like, oh really? Oh, I don't want to leave our home. And I was like, no, but there's something new for us. And he's amazing. You're amazing with that.
Well, you know, I
Follow
feel
that
that
guidance.
the natural role of the feminine is in direction.
Direction. Yeah.
Is the instinctual kind of, you know, direction. And it's kind of like, you know, if the feminine steers the boat and the masculine's the engine behind it, you're going to get on pretty well, as long as, you know, you get this you get this alignment.
Yeah.
And, you know, it didn't take me too long to warm. Okay, well, it's a couple of hours. We chatted through it, and then we kind of felt it. And ultimately, we ended up here in New Zealand. It wasn't the first place that we, you know, it was just something that happened on our trip and our travels that brought a synchronicity to be here. But, you know, we trust. We trust the unknown. We trust the magic of the universe,
and each other.
And we trust each other.
Yeah.
And we trust our intuition and our feelings, and we live our life by trusting each other's. What are you picking up? Because then you get two kind of pieces of antennas getting information, and then when you hold the other's information as equal as to your own, and you bring the both of them together, then you get the full picture.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love everything you've just said there. I think it's that thing that the feminine will say, okay, I'm getting an intuition, let's go in this direction. Not necessarily practical at all. Often not. Don't know how it's going to work out, but we just know we need to go. And then the masculine will, you know, like, okay, yeah, we'll go, but we need to eat. We need to have a roof over our head. The kids need to be looked after, like the practical aspects. Yeah, that's beautiful. Here's a question for you. I'd love your answer to this. What is more important, God, the creator within, that connection, or your relationship?
Created within.
Well, you see, our relationship is an expression of the creator within. So, because there's no separation. So literally, when you're recognizing that we're living in a unified field and we're living under the law of one, there's just one being. Yeah. And so the relationship becomes an opportunity for greater union with God.
And also
good answer. I love that. Yeah.
And for us, it was also when we met each other, there were many contracts in place, many marital contracts. Did I say marital? Mm-hmm. Sorry, marriage contracts from many lifetimes and overlapping. And we decided to clear those all because we wanted to be together here out of free will. But we left one contract intact, and that was the contract that no matter what, we would never keep each other small. I don't know how to explain how.
Well, yeah, the contract is that we would continue to be with each other as long as we were growing.
Exactly.
And if we didn't grow, we would let it go.
Exactly, because that's the relationship with ourselves directly to God. So if we can't have that together with God, then
Well, I'd like to add something that you know, in relationship to God, is the most important thing is A, sovereignty, and B, that within that sovereignty, you're not ending up codependent.
Yes.
So, you know, can be these little subtle codependencies that I can't function without you. Well, it's not about that. It's more about finding the complementary opposite. Yeah, my kind of, you know, my kind of like washing tasks, for example, would be a bit shit. I'd have to, like, you know, there's all those little things that Alaya takes care of. I take care of certain things on my side that we'd have to, you know, but you do it, you know.
Yeah.
But the main thing is that, you know, your relationship is an opportunity to get closer to God, because we're not separate from God. God is within us, and we recognize each other. We recognize in ourselves the divinity inside of us. And our relationship is the primary accelerated path to full realization of that.
Yeah, so there are two paths, right? And one is
Tantra, the path of, you know, relationship, and one is yoga, the path of being solo. So you can choose to be a yogi and go through this whole process alone, but you're not going to get there as quickly, probably, because there's no one to trigger you.
Well, it depends. It depends on how committed you are, I think. Not one way is better.
Exactly. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but you know, in a sacred relationship, the path of Tantra is the mirror. and through that you go, which is all about surrender, trust and surrender dance. And then the path going by yourself, the yogic path, you have to work, I feel, a little bit. You have to have a bigger helicopter to look down on to spot your patterns.
Well, and what I've also experienced myself is that sometimes when woundings come up, that there are sometimes collective woundings. Like I literally feel if there's a wounding from the feminine with the masculine coming up, I feel like, oh my God, this is not mine alone. I feel this whole collective behind me. And then I notice all of a sudden that so many other like-minded women in relationship go through the same woundings to clear it for the collective. And it's the same with the masculine.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. It definitely does accelerate things for you. How can it not when you are living with somebody and they're reflecting these unseen parts of yourself all the time? I mean, it's certainly, as we know, it's certainly not essential in order for people to evolve, and we all choose our own routes, don't we? Of how this is going to occur. And I think it's something that you can't avoid. I mean, I know people who literally did go up a mountain, and take themselves right out of society for a while. But when they come back down the mountain, oh my goodness, is the karma waiting there for them?
Yeah. The thing is that you can't escape it. At some point, you need to deal with it. It might as well be this lifetime, when there's incredible advantages for doing so in this lifetime because of the eon of time we're in, the frequency, the energy that's coming through. Might as well, roll up our sleeves and get it done this lifetime, because it's going to be, the best possible chance to resolve our karma back to neutrality, so we can, liberate our consciousness.
Yeah. And what are the most beautiful parts for you two individually, would you say, about, being in this beautiful sacred union? What's the most beautiful aspects?
Well, for me, I think the most beautiful is that no matter where we are in the world, I'm always home. Always home in our love and our relationship. And I'm not searching it and seeking anymore. It's all just here, and I'm very content and happy. That's the beautiful.
that's so beautiful.
That's gorgeous. Yeah.
And for me, it's like Christof is just this rock. He's always there to hold me, support me, invite me, and he literally, what I find so beautiful, especially with Christof, that he always mirrors to me. He sees me in the brightest light.
Oh,
and that's it's sometimes very confronting, because I'm not always able yet to see that myself. He always reflects that back. And then when I have a realization and a jump in my consciousness, he's just always been there. And that's, sometimes I can't believe, like, oh my God, you've been just waiting while I was just doing all this nonsense and going on all these programs. Yeah, of course.
Aww.
Yeah, I find that very beautiful.
That's so beautiful. And what I love listening to you both is that, and I know some of Christof's work, right? I seriously am a big fan. I've followed you guys for a while now. But nothing that neither of you said. I know that Christof, both of you have got these like incredible skills, incredible talents, but what you've just said there is just a total heart connection. It's not really about the doing, it's just the being. It's about how you feel when you're together. It's just that pure love connection. I think that's so gorgeous.
Yeah, it's nothing. This is what the fabric of reality, what we're all here is to experience love. And, it's my greatest wish for all beings, is that we, first and foremost, we fill ourselves up with love. That, as I entered this relationship with Alaya, I didn't need love from her to feel complete myself. And this is the key piece of, codependence. Usually what happens in codependence is that we don't feel love fully within inside of ourselves. So we latch on to another being, another person, to pull love from them, because we are incomplete within inside of ourselves. So what ends up happening is that we end up running a program that is this triad of expectation. They need to behave in a certain way to make me feel love. And so what ends up happening is these subtle manipulations to try to coerce them into these sorts of behaviors, which allows me to feel love on the inside because I don't have it in myself. And then what we do, what happens is then from that expectation, there's disappointment, of course, when the person obviously doesn't behave exactly in the way that you need in order to feel love. And then what happens after the disappointment is the projection of blame. The blame, it's their fault for not, but really what it is the person is mirroring the gaps inside of yourself where you're not fully feeling love within. So I feel a big piece of sacred relating is being fully complete, sovereign, filled with love yourself, so that you don't need anything from your partner because you're fully realized and complete, full of divine love flowing, and you fill the other person up from the overflow. And from that overflow is this beautiful blossoming and flowering. And that's a very different type of love than a pulling type of love, where you need the person to behave in a certain way because your father or your mother didn't fill this up with inside of you with the conditioning. It's an opportunity for growth to resolve the gaps with inside of yourself where you're not fully feeling love, and then letting go in the way that your partner needs to behave. And then if you're able to do that, the way your partner behave changes, because the same.
So true. It's so true.
And what you shared earlier, I loved your intro about that one partner is ascending and the other one seems to descend.
Yes.
But it's all a reflection, because it's never the other person. That's what I keep learning, and every time and seeing, is that whatever happens between us, it's always a reflection of ourselves. And it's about holding space for each other, what I shared earlier, but also about pulling each other up and not blaming somebody for being down, like, oh, you're still there and I feel amazing, why don't you feel amazing, you should feel amazing too, or blame that person for not feeling amazing, instead of thinking, no, you just love this person, so whatever it takes, you're gonna do this together. I find that really
it's super important, because if one person feels that they are in a superior position because of their spiritual evolution,
which happens a lot, which is like beginner, I think, almost like
beginning consciousness,
beginner mistakes,
because then you kind of start blaming this other person. It's their fault that our relationship is not evolving because you don't see the world in this particular way, blah blah blah. But actually, it's simply just a reflection of your own shadows that are coming to the surface. And rather than disempowering your woman or your man by chopping them down, seeing where they're at, you have to hold a picture of who they truly are, because what the experience is, that's just the program. And when you hold a picture, an image of their magnificence in their highest ascended state, and you act towards them in that manner, how would you need to be? You start pulling them up very quickly. The state where they currently are is a direct reflection of how you treat them. So, when you start shifting that and you start spiraling them up and encouraging them, inspiring through your action and through your unconditional love, and hold space for the invitation for them to want to make the move. That's how it's done. It's not done through a jabbing or a push or a forcing current. You can't force a flower to open. It has to be done through inspiration in spirit, and that inspiration comes through modeling how you are and how you're evolving in yourself, and how you keep sending unconditional love to your beloved, inspiring them to make that shift and change. That's how you start shifting yourself and your relationship and spiraling upwards together. Because I do believe that anyone in a relationship that is not where it wants to be, ultimately there is a deep love for your partner there, wherever they're at. And if you utilize some of these ideas, you will allow them to start creating these subtle shifts. And all you need is 1 degree, one tiny degree in a compass move might not seem very far on the first step. But after you've, walked 1,000 miles, that 1 degree is a completely different destination. So you start to look for the victories in the 1 degrees, the little tiny things that you can do together that start shifting things that you don't see the difference in straight away, but down the line, some months later, is a completely different reality and picture. So look for that sense.
And you were really amazing at that, especially as a young mom with 2 young children, being being very tired for, well, a very long period of our short relationship, actually. So you always kept that image, and yeah, that's been amazing.
I think it's great that we have these sacred union role models, you know, in society, and you know that has been one of the greatest joys of creating this summit, to actually, you know, bring some, you know, people like yourself. Not everybody is a couple who I'm interviewing, but we do have quite a few, and it's like, no, let's, you know, let's really kind of show our viewers what goes on behind closed doors here, and give people a new benchmark, you know, as we're going into this new era, and a new mindset, you know. So yeah, there's been so much damage that has occurred in the past, and we get to be like role models, pioneers, to show what is possible. And I think particularly, you know, in the awakening communities, like you said, there can be this, it can dislodge the relationships, particularly if one person has a different belief system than the other person, and you know, couples are getting to navigate that. And it's so important that we, you know, we have messages such as the ones that you've just given there, to support people as they're going through these awakening experiences and these transitions. So thank you. Yeah.
And also, I found out that the most powerful work we've done so far was actually the circle ceremony weekend we did, which we just used our own energy medicine. And what we've learned was that the deepest wounding in humanity is the mother-father wounding. Like most children, most adults have grown up as children where the relationship between the mother and father wasn't always harmonious. So that's the wounding that we have, literally the programming that we've received. And what we noticed, stepping fully into that template, it was amazing to see what came out, what came through us. Yes, and really stepping into that divine father, divine mother energy, and the feedback we got from that grouping, that to feel that there is a genuine, that it's possible to feel this love and equality and support between a woman. That was very beautiful and very, I learned a lot from that myself, and realized big
such power. And we're going to do a lot more of this work, of these circles and ceremonies, which are small groups, 12 or so people, and we're going to do it with couples, you know, coming forward in the future, because really everything is born out of our mother-father wounding, and we don't have ideal role models or archetypes from our parents that give us the proper foundations, you know. And the archetype of the mother is to give foundation, you know, is to give stability, to give the child identity and nurturance. And when those things are properly fed, we end up being more whole and complete. But of course, many of us have gone through that upbringing. It was quite far from that experience. We bring all of our childhood conditionings to our relationship. And the father's holding the archetype and energy of goals and objectives and focus and direction and achievement. And, you know, very often our fathers haven't given us that kind of, you know, role model support. So what we found is that in those settings, you know, we were able to hold that parent archetype, transfer those codes through energy, and be able to transmit those frequencies. And this is kind of going to be a little bit linked to our gift that we wanted to, a free gift to beloveds who are here today, to do a beautiful transmission of those type of archetypes from ourselves who have, you know, come through the portal. We're just a few steps ahead of you. That's all. You know, we've gone through it. We've been there. We've called each other names. We've, like, you know, had the argument. We've done all of those things and pulled it through the other side. We're not saying, you know, we're you know, totally 100% in you know, harmonious alignment all the time. It's not. It's like a fluid, dynamic kind of, you know, ongoing movie script that we're creating. But, you know, we're pretty good. We're down the line. You know, we're really solid, and people feel that in the live events, and we're just as a gift for people who are resonating with this message, or, you know, want to receive a transmission that you can receive together as a couple. We'd love to gift you one and
all by yourself.
You know, beautiful transmission. You can just sit and listen to or lie down and see the transmission. So
Oh.
it's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we appreciate your gift and we receive it gratefully. And I just think it's lovely to be in your field, you know, and I just say that with respect, equality, unity, you know, it's inspiring to be, and it's an authentic field. And I like that. And I like how you have shared so openly about, you know, how it's not all plain sailing, because I think we have a responsibility when we are, you know, graciously given a global platform like we have, you know, where we're talking to many people across the globe we have a responsibility to be authentic and be honest with how things really are behind closed doors.
Yeah, I think people appreciate, certainly in our live events where, you know, people may have, you know, done a lot of training with me or with us before online, but then they come to the live experience. You know, we bring our whole family. Usually the kids are with us, you know, actually the master healer. They bring a lot of lightness, but they see us as we actually are, especially on tours or events where we're traveling around or we're doing retreats, you know, we're just there as we are in life. And people, you know, really love that. That's why they keep coming back, and we end up on different adventures with quite often similar people around the world. And
you have some amazing adventures, you guys. You really do. Yeah. I love listening to I mean, for anybody who's not on their newsletter, get on their newsletter just for the multidimensional storytelling. I mean, it's you know, it's their adventures are incredible.
It's like this ongoing novel that people seem to like. I get so many emails from people from my newsletter writings that they just love the next pieces of the story, because it's really not just our story, it's your story. It's the story of the planet's ascension. So I'm telling it kind of through the lens of our experience and some of the missions that the Guardians give us, but told through a way that our planet is going through this evolution, and how we're all playing a part of it, and what the next pieces are as we see it coming up. So,
and you're a master storyteller, so I always love reading it myself, like, oh wow,
yeah,
it's incredible.
I love this last one you wrote.
No, it's awesome.
Translated literally.
I have
many people.
Yeah, it's like this ability to translate the untranslatable from the higher realms into the
you have a talent. I'm on a lot of people's lists, you know, doing this work. I'm on a lot of people's lists, but I have to say I don't always have the time to read everybody's. But Christof's I read. Yeah,
that's
story.
People say, always find time to read my emails, which is very humbling to know that, you know, because you know what people's inbox is like. It's like jammed full of so much stuff. So it's always nice that people find time to read mine. And if you subscribe to this free gift that Ariel is talking about, you'll automatically be on our email list, and you'll get a few of the stories and
new adventures of this year.
Coming up.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, do click on the link that I'm sending to you in today's email. That will take you through to this beautiful free gift, and you can sign up there and receive the clearings, the activations, but also get on Christof and Alaya's multidimensional storytelling consciousness stream. It's highly recommended. One quick question that I'd love to ask before we'll leave it there for the viewers today. In terms of clearing in your relationships, can you just clear something when it first comes up, and will it be clear? Or is it something that sometimes you need to like revisit a few times before it will be transmuted?
Yeah.
I think it's about how deep you are in that wounding and realizing it. When you're like the deepest in your, which is the most challenging.
That's the biggest opportunity.
Yes.
When you're really in it, and you know that's.
And then you can consciously clear it.
Then you can
get it from the root.
When you pull it from the root, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the most challenging.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just takes a few times to clear it fully.
And then, you know, your beautiful partner will be there to reflect it to you, no doubt.
Yes. Of course.
Myself is that sometimes it's every time it gets less spiky. Like if there's a wounding and it comes up again, I'm like, oh, it comes up again. But then, I reacted a little bit less spiky than the time before.
Yeah, progress.
And also I'm realizing, oh my God, it happened and I didn't react at all. Wow, it's cleared, So
Yes.
And that's nice because you become each other's cheerleaders.
yes,
because then you like cheer each other on when, oh my goodness, you didn't react like that. That's awesome. You managed to nail it. Or when you find out a piece, when you work out actually where it comes from, trying to piece it all the way back, you get a realization and you get to share it with your partner. Oh my God, guess what I realized?
Yeah.
And then, it becomes part of this puzzle you're trying to work out together of collecting all the pieces.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's so awesome. Oh, thank you so much, guys. Yeah, thank you to the viewers, and thank you to you too. I mean, it's like such an open, honest, intimate sharing. I feel very blessed to be in this with you and to hold this space for our incredible viewers who are tuning in. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ariella, for having us.
Yeah, having us. We enjoyed this conversation and we love doing things together. So I'm sure there's going to be more of it in the future. But for now, all of our love to you.
You had the premiere.
Yeah, this was our first type of speaking together in a live setting. So you were number one.
Blessed. Yeah, no, so blessed. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the beautiful viewers who have tuned into today's interview. I hope that you have got so much out of this beautiful sharing and that it helps to bring your partnerships, bring your relationships together even more. I hope that it gives you, for those of you who are single, some hope and also some direction in terms of what you're looking for. And please do share with us and let us know your reaction to today's interview. What was your greatest takeaway? What has opened up for you after tuning in?
Can I say one last thing, Ariella?
Please, yeah.
Because you just seeded something there that we didn't touch on, is that if people are single, what can they do to attract their beloved? I think, this is probably, just some counsel I have or some advice,
Please.
Yeah. You're in that state and I'm ready, but why haven't they turned up yet? I would like to share.
Great. Please, yeah.
So if you're in that state and you're getting ready, there's a couple of things you need to do. The first thing you need to do is to clear all the cords of other beings who might be plugging into you. Excellent. So ex-relationships, sex buddies, these types of things. You've got to cut the cords, cut the text, cut the sexting, the texting, all that, create a clean space. Yeah. That means you have to be celibate for a little while because you're holding yourself open to meet your beloved. Okay, so that's the first thing, because your beloved can't bring this cord or her cord to connect to your field when you're totally plugged in with other people, other beings. You're completely distracted. So that's the first thing, you create space. The second thing is that you have to turn yourself into the sort of being who has the vibration high enough to meet the person that you always imagine. So you first up, you have to tune into the imagine what type of being that your partner is, and you have to get your vibration there so it's a vibrational match. So you have to sort of raise your vibration to that level, and you have to find yourself in places of joy. So most likely joy brings a higher vibration. So automatically it's just a natural process. You're not going to find your beloved on any online dating site. Law of attraction doesn't kind of work like that. Generally through it may happen. But,
I don't want to rule that out.
I won't rule it out for people, but generally go organic and just try it for a few months. But what I mean by going organic is, where do you get the most joy and juice from in life? And go and do those activities. Chances are your beloved's there also. So it's about you living your life fully in self-love, not needing anything from anyone, because quite often what can happen when you meet someone, it's him, it's her, and you like plug into them, and the person's, oh my goodness, this person's a little bit too desperate, and they like kind of freak out. So it's kind of, knowing that this person, isn't going to complete me because I'm already complete on the inside, but it could be nice. So it's holding that space in such a way where it allows the relationship not to be, not plugging into the person from that space of need, but from an invitation. It's inviting them into your field. And, you'll generally find them in a place which your natural hobbies and desires and passions lie. We met at a conscious festival, as an example. We're working at that time on ourselves consciously, and that's how we met. you're probably going to find your beloved in your own areas of interest that you like to do. So go out and join those clubs, go out and get into community groups, but holding yourself in an integrity, not from a place of need, but from a place of empowered love for yourself, and then fill others up from the overflow. And when your vibrations highlight that, you'll naturally attract someone into your reality.
And then one point that I would like to add, realize that your beloved might not be a physical attraction for you. And that because that's a massive program that's been inserted in this reality, that there has to be this strong physical attraction, and that's actually still being programmed every time we watch a romantic comedy or all these drama series, which, you know, the drama series I don't watch, but I love a nice romantic comedy. But it does program the field that it has to be the strong physical attraction.
Addictive
but it's
love.
From exactly this rush, which is just pheromone, but it's not the deep love that you literally feel in your heart chakra.
Yes.
Yeah. You
can get distracted in the second chakra with desire and sex.
Yeah.
And that's really that's not really kind of the foundation point, because you get lost and distracted in that, and you end up being connected through that rather than through your values. And so that's the biggest thing, is you need to get a match on values and friendship. And then the love is like this beautiful flower that opens, that's then starts to, it's like the difference between starting a fire and a big log fire, right? Imagine the intensity of heat of a log fire that's been burning for a very long time, these smoldering kind of big logs that are just, you know, there with these big ashes there that are firing. That's deep love, you know. Whereas kind of, you know, starting the fire with fire starters going up burns out quick. The type of love you want in a relationship with the big logs.
Yeah, and for you, the friendship. Like Christof is for me still my favorite person to hang out with every moment of the day.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. You guys are awesome. And thank you for that beautiful sharing. That feels very important that we give that stage advice.
I feel very complete now with this topic of relationships.
Yes, we are done. We're done. We got there. So thank you again for this beautiful sharing. Thank you for being in this space. And viewers, please do reach out and let us know what your reaction is to today's interview and how we can serve you more. See you on the next interview for another conscious conversation about sacred union. Bye for now.
Namaste.
Namaste.